So the term FUD is a term that is often thrown around a lot in the gun community, and I'll be honest, I didn't even know what the hell it meant a couple of weeks ago. I thought it was some kind of slang for someone, but apparently that's not what it means. The term FUD originates from Elmer Fudd, the classic Looney Tunes character who's always trying to hunt down Bugs Bunny with his double-barrel shotgun. Today, the term FUD has been taken and repurposed by the gun community, usually to describe a certain type of gun owner, typically someone who owns guns solely for hunting or sporting purposes, and doesn't truly stand behind the real meaning of the Second Amendment, often believing that the Second Amendment has to do with hunting, therefore it doesn't protect modern firearms like the AR-15, while completely ignoring the word arms and resisting tyranny aspect of gun ownership. Now, I do think it's important to understand that simply preferring traditional firearms does not make someone a FUD. There are plenty of people who own older firearms like 1911s, lever-action rifles, or revolvers as hobbyists, collectors, or longtime shooters. Some just appreciate the craftsmanship that goes into making these guns, from the fine details to the materials used for the final finish. Others value the reliability of these firearms, knowing that they'll perform consistently years down the line. And for many, these firearms hold a nostalgic connection, often bringing back memories of when they first learned to shoot and the guns they grew up around. Trust me, they know about modern firearms and the advantages they provide in modern day and have no issues with others owning them. They just simply prefer more traditional style firearms. And the reason I bring this up is because lately I've been spending a lot of time here on YouTube watching videos about revolvers, which the people I've been watching and learning from tend to be these older folks who generally believe that revolvers are just as good for self-defense as any semi-automatic pistol people are carrying today. Which, that's fine, they can believe that. But what I've noticed when you look at their comment section on these videos, you'll often see people throwing around the term FUD incorrectly, saying things like, oh, you're just saying that because you're a FUD, when in reality, these guys just prefer to carry something like a revolver. And that's kind of why I want to make this video, because I think a lot of people are misusing this term and don't fully understand what it means. Another group of people often called FUDs are of course hunters. This is because there are specific individuals within the group who don't see the need for modern firearms like the AR-15 or semi-automatic handguns. They argue that these firearms have no practical use in hunting. I'm guessing they haven't seen the helicopter videos, but since they don't believe these firearms are suited for the specific purpose of hunting, they shouldn't be accessible to the public, often referring to them as weapons of war or flat-out killing machines. Now, my only problem with labeling hunters as FUDs is that there's another group of individuals among hunters who are strong Second Amendment supporters who simply just switch between modern and traditional firearms depending on the hunt, but still support the right of others to own either. And that's kind of why I don't, agree with this whole labeling all hunters as FUDs. Now, while we're on the topic of groups of people getting called out for being FUDs, I like to address the irony in some gun owners who throw the term FUD around while holding FUD-like beliefs themselves. They like to call out hunters or traditional firearm owners for not fully supporting the Second Amendment, yet believe people in certain states should not have the same rights they do. Because apparently, if you live in what's considered a blue state, it is your fault, therefore you don't deserve access to things like AR-15s, standard capacity magazines, or other firearm attachments because of where you live. But here's the thing, if you truly support the Second Amendment and what it stands for, you support everyone's right to exercise it, not just for the people in your free state. The right to keep and bear arms shouldn't be limited by state lines. If we let politicians and anti-gun groups divide us, picking off states one by one, what's eventually stopping them from coming after your state next? And I know some people like to believe that their states will never be touched, but guess what? Every state has been touched on a federal level. There's a reason your AR-15 doesn't have a third option, and if it does, you most likely had to register and pay a tax to exercise your Second Amendment rights. So instead of gatekeeping who gets to exercise what rights, we need to understand that a win for gun rights anywhere is a win for all of us. We can't afford to be divided on small issues like this. Now, with that said, when it comes to the FUD mentality, the real issue isn't with the FUDs at the shooting range or in the woods. Sure, they might have a small influence among the people in their circles who actually listen to them, but the real problem lies with those in position of power, whether in office or on stage, influencing the public opinion in front of thousands of people watching live or through phone screens. These are the ones shaping policy and shifting the conversation of the Second Amendment. Those are the people we need to focus on. And I know right now we think the Second Amendment is safe because Trump is in office and all that, but what happens after the 4 years are up? What if we end up with another Kamala or Biden running for president? We need to ensure that individuals like them stay out of office and away from any sort of position that has power to impact and influence how we exercise our Second Amendment rights. Now, people will often ask if there's any way to change the FUD mentality, and to those people I say, it depends. If we're talking about someone who's younger and perhaps been influenced by the media with false information about firearms, there's a chance of changing their perspective. If they're open to a calm and respectful conversation, that's when we can help them understand where their misconceptions come from and offer a different point of view. However, when it comes to older folks, it is much more difficult because many of them have held the same belief for decades now and pretty much are set in their ways, that it would take their idols or Jesus Christ himself to tell them otherwise. Without that, it is unlikely to change their stance on firearms or the Second Amendment. So to answer the question, it really depends on the person and whether they're opening to listen and engaging in discussion with those who have a different perspective than them. Now, in my personal experience, it's usually just been younger people who have been willing to listen and change their views on firearms and the Second Amendment, not so much older folks. But with all that said, I hope people can take what I've shared in this video and think twice before casually throwing the term FUD around, because not everyone who prefers traditional firearms or hunts is against our rights to own modern firearms, and lumping them all together only creates this unnecessary division among gun owners, many whom likely have a lot more in common with us than we actually think. So that's all I gotta say. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe. Also, for any people watching who like traditional firearms like revolvers, stay tuned. A lot of content coming up on that, as well as some CCW drills. So if you're interested in that, feel free to check out my Instagram at ShadowTheWicked. Also, if you want to get in contact with me, that's a great place. But other than that, hope you guys have a good weekend. Stay safe and God bless.